राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजना यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायामुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। नमो पङ्कजनाभाय नमो पङ्कजमालिने नमो पङ्कजनेत्राय नमस्ते पङ्कजाङ्घ्रे। Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 15, entitled The Pandavas Retire Timely. Text number 34. Please respond. Yaya harad bhuvo bharam tam tanum vijahavaja kantakam kantakeneva द्वयं चापिशतु समम्। यया हरद्भुवो भारं तां तनुं विजहावज कंटकं कंटकेनेव द्वयं चापिशतु समम्। यया हरद्भुवो भारं तां तनुं विजहावज कंटकं कंटकेनेव द्वयं चापिशितुः समम्।
तां तनुं विजहावज कंटकं कंटकानेव स्वयं चापि सुतं समाम् दयाहरतु भारम् अंतरं विजावज कंटकं कंटकेनेव स्वयं चापि सुतं समाम् दयाहरतु भारम् अंतरं विजावज कंटकं कंटकेनेव स्वयं चापि सुतं समाम्
Mataji's. Yaya, that by which Aharat took away Bhuvaha of the world, Bharam burden, Tam that, Tanum body, Vijaho relinquished, Ajaha the unborn, Kantakam thorn, Kantakena by the thorn, Iva like that, Dvayam both, Cha also, Api although, Ishituhu controlling, Samam equal. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
जय प्रभुपाद
The Supreme Unborn, Lord Sri Krishna, caused the members of the Yadu dynasty to relinquish their bodies, and thus he relieved the burden of the world. This action was like pricking out a thorn with the thorn, though both are the same to the controller. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur suggests that the rishis like Shaunaka and others who were hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from Sutta Goswami at Naimisharanya were not happy to hear about the Yadus dying in the madness of intoxication. To give them relief from this mental agony, Sutta Goswami assured them that the Lord caused the members of the Yadu dynasty to relinquish their bodies, by which they had to take away the burden of the world. The Lord and His eternal associates appeared on earth to help the administrative demigods in eradicating the burden of the world. He therefore called for some of the confidential demigods to appear in the Yadu family and serve him in his great mission. After the mission was fulfilled, the demigods, by the will of the Lord, relinquished their corporeal bodies by fighting amongst themselves in the madness of intoxication. The demigods are accustomed to drinking the Somarasa beverage, and therefore the drinking of wine and intoxication are not unknown to them. Sometimes they were put into trouble for indulging in intoxication. Once the sons of Kuvera fell in the wrath of Narada for being intoxicated, but afterwards they regained their original forms by the grace of the Lord, Sri Krishna. We shall find this story in the 10th canto. For the Supreme Lord, both the Asuras and the demigods are equal, but the demigods are obedient to the Lord, whereas the Asuras are not. Therefore, the example of picking out a thorn by another thorn is quite befitting. One thorn which causes pinpricks on the leg of the Lord is certainly disturbing to the Lord, and the other thorn which takes out the disturbing elements certainly gives service to the Lord. So, although every living being is a part and parcel of the Lord, still one who is a pinprick to the Lord is called an Asura, and one who is a voluntary servitor of the Lord is called a Devata or a demigod. In the material world, the Devatas and Asuras are always contending, and the Devatas are always saved from the hands of the Asuras by the Lord. But both of them are under the control of the Lord. The world is full of two kinds of living beings, and the Lord's mission is always to protect the Devatas and destroy the Asuras whenever there is such a need in the world, and to do good to both of them. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyam Ishwaram. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pavchata Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yonta pravishya mama vachamimam prasuptan sanjivayata kila shaktidhara swadhamna anyam shahasta charana shravana tvagadin pranan namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. Katanchana smrite yasmin duskaram sukaram bhavet vismrute viparitam sya Shri Chaitanya namamitam. Hare Krishna. So, we are reading a very sobering and interesting pastime because of the many lessons that are there in this pastime. So this pastime which we are reading now, the Pandavas retired timely. This is a story that begins with the previous chapter where Yudhishthira Maharaj is suspecting that maybe Krishna has disappeared from this world because he sees that Arjuna has not returned and a lot of inauspicious omens and are seen, and he expresses his concern to whom? To Bhima. And then he sees further bad omens, in his body, the animals, the birds, the Panchabhutas, the cattle, the deities, other places. So he is confused. 100% he is convinced that there is some great loss, but he doesn't know what exactly has happened. And that time Arjuna returns. And he appears totally forlorn and dejected. So Yudhishthira Maharaj inquires from Arjuna about the welfare of the Yadus, Vasudev, Balram, Krishna, Surasena, and then he glorifies Krishna and he says, oh, Krishna must be enjoying in the Sudharma assembly. So like that, he's in denial. He knows there is something inauspicious, but he's trying to be positive. And finally, Yudhishthira Maharaj comes to the point. Arjuna, you are looking very sick. Your health is gone down. Have you disrespected some elders? Have you spoken unfriendly words to someone? Did you fail to give charity? Did you fail to protect someone? Or did you fail to treat women with respect? Or were you defeated? Or did you take meals alone? These are the things he asks him. Or did you commit an unpardonable mistake? And finally he says, has Krishna left? And then the chapter begins now, this chapter, where Arjuna admits that Krishna has left and all the astounding powers that he had is all gone. And the universe is null and void. And then we see the whole section which we saw till recently, gratitude section, where Arjuna remembers how it is because of Krishna's mercy that I won the hand of Draupadi. By Krishna's mercy that I defeated Indra, I impressed Indra. And by Krishna's mercy I killed Nivata Kavacha demon. And with Krishna I had joking words, I had a lot of friendly dealings. And now I have been defeated by ordinary cowherd men because Krishna is not there. And then he explains about annihilation of the Yadus, the Brahmanas' curse. And then what happens? Arjuna remembers Bhagavad Gita. And he feels relief from miseries. His mind is pacified, his bhakti is intensified. And now we have reached this section where Yudhishthira Maharaj is retiring. From 32, we have started. Today is 34. Till 44th verse, we are going to see this. And in today's purport, there are many points. We'll just take one point, which is in the end. Srila Prabhupada talks about Asura and Sura. How Krishna helps the Suras kill the Asuras. So we can spend some time today reflecting on this theme. I think this is a very common concept we all have heard many times, that in the earlier times, demons and devotees were in different planets. Like Hiranyakashipu and the devotees were different planets. So Lord Nrsimhadev came in Satya Yuga. In Treta Yuga, devotees and demons were in same planet but different countries, like Ram and Ravan. And we say in Dwapar Yuga, devotees and demons in same family, like Pandavas and Kauravas. And in Kali Yuga, devotee and demon within oneself. Right? So Krishna consciousness is basically our whole life goes in conquering the lower nature, which is the asura or the demoniac nature, right? We spend our whole sadhana bhakti. And Krishna consciousness is a struggle to let the divine nature, to let the godly nature which we have, to rule over the demoniac nature, right? So far, we all have been hearing this. Today we'll spend some time on how to deal with this demoniac nature, which we have. All of us have, right? The asura, the dark side. So in the Native Americans, which His Holiness Radha Swami Maharaj writes in Journey Within about the good dog and the bad dog. So inside us there is a good dog and the bad dog. Both are barking. So what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to starve the bad dog and feed the good dog, which means we have to nourish our divine qualities. And this is an eternal battle. Which one do we feed? So now, today we let us understand one point, that we are doing sadhana bhakti means what? We are feeding which dog? The good dog. It goes without saying. Constantly feeding the good dog. But let us today be realistic. Let us not have an unrealistic expectation that the bad dog will stop barking if we feed the good dog. That is the point I wanted to make today. See, we can't get rid of the bad dog barking. See, many of us get anxious. What will happen? Yesterday, ISKCON Prabhu made this amazing point. He said it a couple of times. It just stuck on with me. He said, Parikshit Maharaj was not an anxiety that, okay, 2 days have gone now, 3 days have gone, 7 days, I'm going to die. And he's not an anxiety that, okay, I have not become pure till now, what will happen? He is having faith that Krishna is there. Basically, Krishna consciousness means no material anxiety. Because our asura side, our demoniac nature will not go away easily. So, we have to make peace with it. What does that mean? That means we have to be realistic and expect that the bad dog will keep barking loud and any time and all the time. So that is going to happen. So what we do? Tam titikshasva bharata, tolerate. We have to come to peace with ourselves, with our inadequacies. This is the first step. See, in modern language, what is this called? This is called acceptance. And in devotee language, this is called embracing the pain. Basically, in simple words, are we willing to accept our dark side? Unfortunately, before coming to Krishna consciousness, many of us, we have been raised in the thought process that life is meant for increasing pleasure and reducing pain. Right? This is what we have been trained. And with this mindset, we come to Hare Krishna movement thinking that we may say many things externally, but secretly we hope to do the same now with the practice of Krishna consciousness, which means increase our happiness and reduce our misery. And when that doesn't happen, we get trapped by Maya. Because Maya will first tell us to intensify our sadhana. So we will chant more, we will hear more. But if we haven't learned the principle of embracing pain, if we haven't learned the principle that Krishna consciousness is not meant to increase pleasure and reduce pain, if we have not understood this deeply, then Maya will reveal to us in her full form. She will come through social media, she will come through quarrel, hypocrisy. They were all concomitant results of our inability to accept and embrace the pain of our dark side. So there are three things when it comes to dealing with our dark side, or the asuras, or the anarthas that we call. First is the awareness of the anarthas. Awareness. See, awareness doesn't mean information or knowledge. Okay, we have lust, envy, greed, pride, anger, 6 anarthas, anishtita, sadhana, bhakti. It's not simply information and knowledge. Basically, awareness means that, it's not, Prabhu, I'm fallen, I'm lusty. That's not awareness. Awareness means the inner conviction that I'm really, really far away from Krishna. That is awareness. And then comes the main point, which is accepting. This is the most important. Means, like poison, we say, poison we need just a little to take if you want to die. But it is said that if you want to live in this world, you have to take a lot of poison. That means basically accepting that, yes, I have these anarthas. And so it's basically, sometimes we say, oh, Prabhu, are we saying that, okay, I accept it, that means I'm shameless? No, we're not talking about being shameless. We're talking about being honest. Yes, I have this and abhi hai, kya kare? I am like this, I'm fallen. See, honesty doesn't mean, honesty means to know where I am. But it becomes shameless when I say, I know where I am and I'll remain where I am. Honesty, really speaking, means to know where you are, but not remain where you are. And that's when the third principle comes into play. First is what? Awareness. Awareness of what is happening, what anarthas I have. And second is acceptance, which is honesty. And then third is aspiration, moving forward, having a desire to get Krishna's mercy. And that going forward is with grace, with dignity, with fortitude. And the main middle part is acceptance. Without acceptance, if we intensify our Krishna consciousness, it is like driving fast on a very dangerous hilly section. There is a saying, speed thrills, but it kills, right? Durgatna se der bhali. So we may do a lot of intense bhakti, but if we haven't come to terms with who we are and our anarthas, then it can be very, very unhealthy. We don't want martyrs, Shahid Bhagat Singhs. We want devotees to live for Krishna. We want to love Krishna. We want to experience the joy of a relationship with Krishna. So where does this begin then? How do we begin this journey of dealing with our dark side or our asuras? It begins with attention in our practices. Attention is the key when chanting, when hearing class, when dealing with devotees. Sensitivity and attention. So what happens when we are attentive is this. Attention to our chanting leads to awareness. Awareness is a gift that Krishna gives us. Awareness is not something which, I know I am fallen. No. It's actually Krishna. Krishna reveals to us that we are fallen. See, sometimes when we say, chant attentively, what will get by chanting attentively? What is the general answer we give? If you chant attentively, you will get love of Krishna. Right? This is what we say. But His Grace Burijan Prabhu made a very profound point once. He said, if you chant attentively, you don't get love of Krishna. You will get eventually love of Krishna. But the reward of attention is said is humility. Because it is awareness. Because when you're attentive, you realize, I'm so far away from Krishna. That is awareness. And that awareness can be painful. When we actually realize I'm so far from Krishna, it can be painful. Therefore, at that time we need acceptance. C.S. Lewis, the famous author of many books in the 20th century, he and J.R. Tolkien were very close friends. So C.S. Lewis, he says, for most people, humiliation comes before humility. We have to go through humiliation. In the sense, we have to come to terms with who we are. But what we do, because we don't want to accept, we drown ourselves with a lot of philosophy, with a lot of humor, a lot of excitement, thrills. Because humility is not something which, humility is not some fruit which is lying in the tree and I pick it up and I eat it and I become humble with an aura around my head. That's not humility. Humility is to accept the pain of being very far away from Krishna. Humility is to see the dirt in our heart. And the worst thing is we have to make peace with it. But what we do, we often deny it or we justify it. You know? Again, I want to clarify, it doesn't mean that, okay, I have my dark side and I'm happy about it, I accept it. No, I'm not happy about it. But the point we are making today is acceptance means basically the ability to divest emotions out of it. Okay, I'm fallen. See it for what it is. But if we keep adding emotions and energy to our dark side, it empowers our negative emotions. See, our emotions are meant for Krishna, not for the asuras within. So we have to ask ourselves when we invest emotions in our Krishna conscious practices, with those emotions, are we empowering our dark side or are we strengthening our relationship with Krishna? Because the dog is barking constantly and we have to see it barking. We have to see it objectively. If we don't see it objectively and embrace that pain, we'll get distracted by smartphones. We'll get distracted by so many things. See, the test of our Krishna consciousness, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj would say, the test of bhakti, how advanced you are in bhakti is simple. He says, this is Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj statements, ask yourself, what do you do when you are suffering? Or when you are in pain? What do you do when you are in pain? And what do you do when you are alone? These are the two things that will reveal to us. And one devotee was telling me that he saw one pattern in his life. He was going through business losses. He was going through relationship issues. And during the same period, he also saw that his social media activity is more. So he saw a connection. And I concurred. I said, yes, this is what happens. When we are in pain and suffering, this becomes a distraction rather than helping us deal with it. So how do we do it then? How do we accept? We connect. We connect with our pain. There is awareness. Basically allowing it to sink in. You know, what we often do is we use holy names and scriptures to distract us from the pain. See, holy name and scriptures, let us be very clear. They are not meant to be a painkiller. They are medicine. We are looking for painkillers many times. We want instant relief. It's like, in medicine, I had one friend, Siddharth, I remember many years ago. He used to get these boils in his body. So we went to an homeopath and he said, if I'll give you perfect medicine, but you'll get more boils. Because I'll cure your blood. So he was ready for it. He took the homeopathy medicines. His body was filled with boils. He couldn't get up from the bed for 1 week. But he kept taking that medicine. And eventually the blood got cured. Impurities got cured. And the boils stopped. But we don't want that purification. We don't want our anarthas to be seen by us. Without accepting it, we want it to go away. We want Krishna to remove it. That will not happen. We can't expect holy names and Bhagavatam to be like allopathy. It is like homeopathy in this analogy. So, otherwise we become victims, of social media and other distractions. Because storms are chaotic. And we will have to face those storms as sadhakas. But there is a saying, in the eye of the storm, there is peace. Have you heard this? That means in the middle of the suffering that we go through, there can be peace if we practice the principle of acceptance. Tatte nukampam susumikshamano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam ridvagvapurbir vidadam namaste jivetayo muktipade sadayaba. This is Brahmaji's classic prayer. Prabhupada emphasized this so many times. That I accept what has come to me, Krishna. This is my doing. And then accepting it, we offer it to Krishna for healing. And that's when we are honest with Krishna. This is how I am. Krishna, this is where I am. This is my heart. This is a mistake I have made, Krishna. I'm really sorry, Krishna. And when we are in that space, Krishna will embrace the devotee. It is authenticity that attracts Krishna's mercy, Like, if you want to join the Indian army, the qualification is you have to be physically tough, mentally strong. But if you want to be in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's army, the qualification is honesty, authenticity. So, and authenticity comes when there is first awareness, and then there is being honest with ourselves, being conscious of who we are, how far we are from Krishna. Like Prabhupada told Tamal Krishna Maharaj, first become conscious, then become Krishna conscious. So basically face them, don't avoid them. I don't know if you have experienced, even in mundane experiences, when we are present, when we are with that thing, that is the key to experience the depth of it, isn't it? Like, I'll give a very mundane example. I used to have problems with the crows when I used to go for my morning walk. Quack, quack, the crows and the traffic horns. Pong. It's so frustrating. So one day I decided, okay, let me do an experiment. Next 1 week, whenever I hear this crows cawing, it irritates me, or when the traffic sound alarm, that horn, I will not get irritated. What I'll do, I will just be present with that. I'll just take in. I will see it and hear it as if I'm hearing it for the last time. I'll be present with it. What if my eyes are going to be plucked off after this crow has cawed? This is the last time I'm going to see the crow, or the first time I'm seeing the crow and the traffic. So I would see everything like this in that mood, And trust me, after 1 week, I became so peaceful, and that crow and traffic on never troubled me after that for a long time. So the point is, when we are present with our dark side, it helps. But the more we resist, the more it persists. That is the whole game of the mind. That's how Maya tricks us. It's all about slowing down and allowing the asuras to coexist. You may say, "Arey, wo saath mein aap bol rahe rehne ka?" No. What we are saying is, knowing that Krishna will destroy them. Krishna will destroy those asuras. Oh, does that mean I just become self-indulgent and self-pampering and I don't do anything about it? No, we fight, we do our part. But we know that this is going to be there. Like if you go to I don't know what you call daldal in English, daldal, quicksand, swamp, right? Swamp. When you're stuck in a quicksand, what happens? Most people, what they do, they fight, they struggle, and immediately they go down fast. So the trick is, you have to first go on your back, float. Don't struggle. Even this commando training, they have marine commandos, Marcos training. They put heavy weight on your body, they tie your hands and legs and they put you in the ocean as part of training. So those commandos who struggle, they drown. Of course, they are safe then, but as part of the training. But those smart commandos, what they do, they don't struggle. They just first are present with that. They understand what's happening. And then they do different things. But the idea is to slow down and become aware and accept what's happening. See, the mind tricks us that we have to keep struggling. And we are foolish if we think that if I keep struggling, Maya will go away. Maya will not go away even if we struggle till the last day of our life. Maya goes away not by our struggle, Maya goes away by Krishna's mercy. So, if you go anywhere, any spiritual organization, anywhere, when they train you to become mentally strong, even in army training, the main key element of becoming mentally strong is don't resist, don't deny. First face it, accept it. Like, in Marine Commandos, they have one training called as Hell Week. Hell, Naraka Week. 150 hours of rigorous training for 1 week. That reduces 5 years from their life. And there are some commandos who have done thrice in a year, they have done that Hell Week. Nobody can survive that Hell Week. It is designed to break you. You are expected to break down. And what is the technique and what some people do, 150 hours, hellish. So they start counting. Okay, now 140 hours is left, 130 hours is left, 120, 110, now 90 hours is left. They're calculating like that. And they are the ones who break down first. And those who have survived that Hell Week, they share the secret that when they are going through pain, they first pause. They say, I'm not happy about it, but this is pain and I accept it. When they say this, I accept it. This is painful. I don't like it, but I can't do anything about it. It's okay. It's okay. And then they're able to survive. So this is counterintuitive. I know many of us think that we have to fight and struggle. But no, we are talking about your denial. Don't be in denial. It's pain, accept its pain. Denial is the worst kind of lie, because that is a lie we speak to ourselves. So let us not deny, and let us not berate ourselves with some melodramatic expressions and declarations of how I am fallen, I am a worm in the stool. No. Don't, let us not imitate pure devotees. Let us accept that I am small, I am now coming to Krishna, and this acceptance is part of surrender. Because ultimately we are Satchidananda, right? And we are eternal, fully conscious and fully blissful. Ananda is not outside of me. I am Ananda. I am happiness, which means I am part of Krishna. I am Krishna in quality. So that means I belong to Krishna. I am complete. And we have to experience this. Krishna loves me. Of course, I have my dark side, but that's not me. I have it, I accept it, and I move forward. See, Maharaj writes very beautifully, Radha Swami Maharaj writes beautifully about this in Journey Home, when he talks about his experiences with Ramesh Baba. You remember this story? He was staying in Barsana, and there was this, Babaji was going to sleep in the night with a small stick. And Maharaj asked him, what is this? He said, there are leopards here. So Maharaj said, this small stick will save you? He said, no, Radharani will save me. So then he said, okay, then Radharani will say, then why are you keeping this small stick? He said, to show her that I'm trying also. So it's an amazing, Prabhupada also writes a similar story in 6th chapter of Gita. Anybody knows what is that? Very famous. Sparrow and the eggs. The sparrow lost her eggs to the ocean, and now the sparrow asked the ocean didn't return back. So the sparrow decided to dry up the ocean, so with her beaks, she would take the water and throw it on the land, thinking that I'll get my eggs back. And then Garuda intervened and she got. So, what we are doing when we are trying to remove the anarthas from our heart? We are like that sparrow, removing the eggs from the ocean. But do you read in the Gita that the sparrow was depressed? The sparrow needed psychiatric help. Why? Sparrow was doing duty diligently, committed, karte rehne ka bas. Garud ji ne dekh liya. Garud ji gave mercy. Similarly, we can't be in anxiety if we are practicing bhakti, because that means we have to come to terms with it. गम की अंधेरी रात में दिल को न बेकरार कर, सुबह जरूर आएगी, सुबह का इंतजार कर. I can't translate it into English. So this is the Patanjali Muni calls this as Ekagrita stage, which is the stage of Sattva Guna in our practices. See, the Rajo Guna and Tamo Guna induced bhakti practices will not remove the anarthas from our heart, because that cannot destroy the dark side. So we have to feed the good dog. So the solution is like this. We feed the good dog and we don't get angry with the bad dog. That is the whole game. See, our problem is we expect the bad dog will die. No, that is not our job. Our job is to feed the good dog. Because when we can't solve a problem after years and years, that means it is not a problem to be solved. It is a truth to be accepted. So can we accept this truth? Our problem is we are overwhelmed by the impossibility of the task, and that's why we need professional help. Therefore, we need to accept. Acceptance basically being detached. Detached from the conception that I'm a pure devotee, I should have been a pure devotee by now, I'm chanting for so many years. And no, Sattva-guna means making peace. His Holiness Bhakti Raksha Sridhar Maharaj, Prabhupada's godbrother, very close friend of Srila Prabhupada. So there's a very nice pastime of Bhakti Raksha Sridhar Maharaj. One Mataji came to him and saying, she said, Maharaj, Guru Maharaj, I have no taste in chanting. I'm frustrated. I'm chanting for so many years. Why I'm not experiencing Krishna? So then Maharaj heard her, and then he told her something profound. He said, there is a big difference between you and Shabri. Shabri also went through the same thing like you are going through. But Shabri was excited, anticipating Krishna will come today, Krishna will come today. And you are miserable. So this is very, very important, that two devotees may be crying at the same time, but both have an internally different state. We may read Bhaktivinoda Thakur's bhajan. Gopinath, Amito Kamera Dasa, Vishaya Vasana, Jagiche Rudoe, Fadiche Karamufa. He's saying, Kabeva Jagibo Ami, Kamarupe Ar, Dure de Agibo. When will that calm go away from my heart? Hridaya Spuribetume. So both two devotees may be intensely crying, but both of them may have a different mood internally, One of them may be saying, Krishna, I'm chanting for so many years. Why you are not appearing? I'm so angry. I'm so frustrated. I'm doing this and it's not happening. And another devotee may be saying the same bhajan, but in the mood, internal mood may be longing. Krishna, where are you, Krishna? I want to be with you. There is a big difference. So when we accept our dark side and then come to Krishna, there is a better probability that Krishna will embrace us with his affection. Carl Jung, I don't know how you pronounce him. He is one of the greatest psychologists of the 20th century. He gave this concept called dark side. In last 100 years, so much research has been done on the dark side of human beings, So it's a very famous, he says that how, we all have a dark side, and because we don't face it, we don't deal with it, we psychologically suffer more. And behind what is apparent, there is something behind, behind the glamour. Like, for example, now World Cup was going on. Everybody was, wow, World Cup, Argentina won. Wow, beautiful, beautiful. But those who are sober, they know that behind this glamour of World Cup, there was lot of torture done to many laborers from Bangladesh, Pakistan and India. They suffered, they died. It was horrible. Some people are pessimistic. They will only talk about, this worker suffering. Some people will be only celebrating World Cup. But sobriety means to know that material world, both things will be there. Right? So only positivity it's a very toxic, it's called toxic positivity. I was watching on Gaur Gopal Prabhu's talk few days back. He was also talking about the same thing. Somebody asked him, what to do to be happy? So Gaur Gopal Prabhu said, why do you want to be happy always? My life is complete with all emotions. You will not be happy always. When he was saying that, I was just wishing if only more motivational speakers were like this, rather than giving false hope. So we need devotees like this who will tell us that both realities we have to see. Actually, this concept captured the imagination of the public in 1880s when Robert Louis Stevenson wrote a very famous story called The Curious Story of Dr. Jekyll and Hyde. One man, he takes some potion in the night and he becomes hideous and vicious, Hyde. And in the daytime is a very socially respectable Dr. Jekyll. Same man. And the whole society, whole town is wondering who is this coming in the night and killing and doing murder. They don't know that it is the same man. So then people started talking about how Jekyll and Hyde, everybody has these two sides. Many people have made this concept, like our J.R. Tolkien, the famous author of Lord of the Rings. He spoke about Gollum. He had one character called Gollum in his Lord of the Rings, who was an amazing character. One moment is chastising himself and criticizing himself, and next moment is very selfish. He wants to enjoy. It's crazy. This is the reality of our inner world. So therefore, Rupa Goswami, in Nectar of Devotion, he gives us very practical solution. One of the 64 items of bhakti is what? 11th item is what? Equilibrium in loss and gain. Means to accept that, yes, this is the way life is and this is the way it's going to be. And Krishna, if you are sincere in our chanting, what will Krishna do? What is the reward of attention? Reward of attention? Humility. Means how that humility comes? Because Krishna makes us aware. Like, one of my friends, I was in my room upstairs, I was talking to Radha Gopinath Prabhu, and suddenly I remembered my laptop was in his car. He was going from here to Dadar somewhere. So then I called him, I said, Prabhu, my laptop, if it's okay, I'll come back and give you. But he forgot to disconnect. I forgot to disconnect. And we were both on speakerphone. And I kept the phone in front of me and I continued writing. I was talking to Radha Gopinath Prabhu. Then I went to my room. I continued. And then I realized my phone speaker is on. I've not disconnected. And he also forgot to disconnect. And he was driving. He kept the phone in front of him and he kept driving. And speaker is on. And as I was typing, Suddenly I heard his wife's voice boom on the phone. And I thought, Are? And then I realized my phone is on. But after hearing her voice, she was shouting at her husband. Now you will go and sit with Prabhuji in the room, and I will have to be in the car because Mataji was not allowed in the ashram. And as she was shouting at him, I said, wow, this is the same Mataji who is like, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. And I said, wow. And instantly I knew this is wrong, bad etiquette, we should disconnect. But it was so tempting. I wanted to hear what they are fighting. And next 5 minutes, she was just blasting him. And he was, driving, and he was like, The only thing he was saying was, She's saying, the boy has to come home, and so much work is pending at home, and you are... And I was like, wow, she's like so different when she's talking to us. But then after a few minutes, I felt guilty, and then I disconnected. So then after 5 minutes, he came with the laptop, and he kept it in my room, and he was running. I said, wait, kahan ja raha hai? He said, no, Proj, I have to go. A lot of work at home. I said, no, relax, let us sit. I was trying to tease him because I knew the background. He didn't know that I had heard. So then he said, no, Prabhu, I have to go, I have some important work. I said, no, relax, Prabhu. Let us wait for some time. And then after some time, I told him, I'm sorry, Prabhu, I heard your wife chastise you. Kitna jhaapti hai yaar tere ko? I told him like that. And he said, Prabhu, you heard? I said, I'm sorry, but I heard the whole thing. And then, he said, Prabhu, what you heard was not even a trailer of what I go through. But then we laughed, and then of course after some days I met both of them. They had come to temple or something, and we all three of us laughed about it. And then I was telling both of them that, see, he told me that, he said, Prabhu, I'm convinced that my wife loves me. But he said, she is very caring, but she also purifies me with her chastisement. So basically he said, marriage has opened my eyes to the reality that love is not simply sweet exchanges. Love is not simply whispering sweet nothings to your ear. Love is also means correction, feedback. But then I was telling them that this is the same principle works in our relationship with Krishna also, especially in our chanting. So we chant a fixed number of rounds, right? So when we were new, we were chanting only when it was convenient, or we were chanting because when I felt like chanting. But somewhere we made a commitment. We got initiation, we made a commitment. That means we chanted even when it was not convenient. And that's when the whole thing changes, the relationship with Krishna changes. Because when we are new, we are excited about bhakti. We imagine that spiritual life in general and chanting in particular would always be ecstatic. Some of us thought that we will enjoy Krishna consciousness forever and life will have no problems in life. But soon we realized, honeymoon is over. Krishna, like a loving spouse, will show us the mirror. Just like my friend's wife scolds him, Krishna, what is the first benefit of chanting Hare Krishna? Cleansing of the consciousness, right? When you clean your room, it is hard work. Similarly, when we clean our heart, it is going to be intense. And Krishna, when we are cleaning the room, we may close your mouth with cloth, but you can't close your eyes and clean. So the dirt is there and you see it. So in the beginning, we are motivated to chant and the process is exciting, but it is commitment that keeps us going. And see, when I'm chanting because I like to chant, it is great. But when I know I'm fallen, and then still I'm chanting, that's commitment. Radha Gopinath Prabhu makes this beautiful statement. It has etched in my heart forever. He says, what is mercy? We think mercy means something mystical will happen. Radha Gopinath Prabhu says, mercy means to know who you are. So when we are chanting, when we are doing bhakti, and if Krishna reveals to us who we are, if like the loving spouse, we get the feedback from Krishna, that means we have got mercy. That is the wake-up call. Many of us, unfortunately, we had a romantic idea of Krishna consciousness. So when we get this realization that I'm fallen or I'm really far away from Krishna, it's a very rude wake-up call. It is like my friend who is cared for by his wife, but that doesn't mean she spares him the sauce. He also gets the sauce. So we feel loved by Krishna as devotees, and yet we feel the pain of our inadequacies. Devotees realize that our relationship with Krishna is very sweet, but not sweet like the kheer. It is khatta meetha. It is not sweet. Khatta meetha is more better than sweet because khatta meetha is irresistible. You just get, those chatpata item we eat, the Bombay snacks, pani puri, all those things, they are irresistible. You can keep eating a lot because it is khatta meetha. That's how, and that realization that Krishna will give us the sauce, Krishna will also embrace us with his love, that will keep a devotee humble. So, and this humility, therefore, is not a contrived principle, that we kind of twist it. No, it is a gift that Krishna gives us when he sees that we are sincerely trying to keep the relationship going, cheerfully and gratefully, despite life not going the way we thought it would go when we were new in Krishna consciousness. When we come to terms with our limitations, we accept ourselves the way we are and yet offer our tiny existence to Krishna to please Krishna. Actually, I don't know I think all of you must be aware that in any relationship in this world will have ups and downs. Hota hai ki nahi? There are moments of exhilaration, but there are also moments of frustration. So there will be occasions when we chant and dance in ecstasy, but the element of hopelessness will also be there. And Krishna consciousness has this share of austerity as we perform devotional service consistently for years. Devotees who chant for years with faith and humility, they do experience a sense of belongingness with Krishna. It is a very fulfilling relationship, but it is not a stimulating relationship. There is a difference between, in modern culture, happiness is equated with titillation of the senses. If somebody is new and if you tell them, you come to Hare Krishna, you will experience a deep, fulfilling bonding with Krishna. It doesn't appear attractive for many people. Therefore, what Krishna does, he attracts us initially with thrilling kirtans, succulent prasad, grand festivals, exciting challenges, uplifting yatras. But to practice the process for years calls upon the spiritual practitioners to commit to their relationship with Krishna. The little choices we make, the determination to chant, whatever happens, that will lead to the eventual result of love of Krishna. Because a married couple, they will soon realize after a few days of marriage that there is more to love than fun and frolic. Love means tolerance, forgiveness, understanding, patience. Similarly, our relationship with Krishna also is not about, initially it is about how I enjoy in my relationship with Krishna. I like to do this in Krishna consciousness. I love this. But as we go deeper in our relationship with Krishna, it is about pleasing Krishna. It is about pleasing Krishna according to his terms, which is very challenging. And therefore, sadhana or spiritual practice, Patanjali Muni says, has three components. First is, it is performed for a long time. It is not a 1-year project or even a 10-year project. We can't say I'm doing sadhana for 20 years. No. Sadhana means decades, diligently and enthusiastically. Second element of sadhana is no interruption. Whether it is hot or cold, whether I am happy or sad, I keep chanting. I remember when Gaur Krishna Prabhu left, 12 devotees, how many devotees? 10 devotees died in that air crash. 8 devotees. It was such a shocking tragedy. And I remember everything was happening the same way. But devotees are in pain. Next day morning, brahmacharis were doing dressing. I saw everybody's face was, you're supposed to be smiling, laughing in front of deities. But yeah, service was going on, but it was painful. And that Guru Puja, I remember, Rishikesh Anand Prabhu was leading the next day. And it was like today also he was leading. I was remembering that kirtan that day. He was sad. Everybody was sad, but we were going through the process of sadhana bhakti. So Krishna's plans are inconceivable. So doing devotional service without interruption for decades And third, very important, is investment of emotions for Krishna. That is the intention to please Krishna. So when these three things are there, there is sadhana. And initially when we come to bhakti, there is stimulation. It is like, wow, bhakti is exciting. It is like a boy meets girl, they are in love. But then they make a commitment to get married. So when that commitment happens, there is initiation, there is vows, then relationships takes a different turn. In this world also, if you want to experience any activity deeply, if you want to experience any relationship deeply, you have to make a commitment, right? Similarly, with a relationship with Krishna also, we have to make commitment. I was talking about Shabari. In Shabari's ashram, Matanga Rishi, I was reading Ramayana last year, that entire section where Rama and Lakshmana, after Kabanda passed, and they're going to Matanga Rishi's ashram. So when they reach that ashram, Ram is surprised to see so many beautiful, fragrant flowers everywhere. And then they come to know something very interesting, that all these flowers, they never wilt. They are always fresh. Why? Because Matanga Rishi's disciples, they would go and get firewood every day, and they would get tired in the evening, they would come back, they would be sweating. As soon as their sweat drop would fall on the ground, it would immediately transform into a beautiful flower. And it would remain fresh forever. So then Ram tells Lakshman that this is the power of commitment, dedication. And if you see Srila Prabhupada's dedicated years of service, his perspiration drops came out as his lectures, his books and writings. And that's why they are so fresh. They keep making devotees, thousands of devotees every year. I was hearing one class of Srila Prabhupada just day before yesterday. This is 1971 April. I can give you the details later. This is like when ISKCON is well established. ISKCON, thousands of disciples are there, hundreds of temples are there. And that class, Prabhupada, look at his authenticity, inside, outside, same. His ability to come to terms with who he is. In that class he is saying that there are a lot of tribulations in Krishna consciousness. And then Prabhupada talks about his own sannyas. I was like, I was stunned. I paused, rewinded, paused. He says, I took sannyas and so many tribulations, so many challenges. And he explains all the challenges. And then he says, I was thinking, did you do the right thing by taking sannyas? Prabhupada is saying like that so candidly to his devotees who are in the class. But he went on. There's another class where Prabhupada says, I want to go back to India, Vrindavan, I'm remembering Krishna, I'm not happy here. But my Guru Maharaj has ordered me, I'm going to serve. So whether we are happy, not happy, that commitment, exemplary commitment. Haridas Thakur, Mahaprabhu is telling him, reduce your rounds. And he is still going on. And Prabhupada writes on the purport there, if you can't complete your 16 rounds, then you are diseased. He writes that. And Sanatan Goswami, in his last days, he is not able to do parikrama of Govardhan. And then Mahaprabhu gives him a Govardhan Shila and then tells him, okay, you do 4 rounds, 4 parikrama of this. So these stalwart devotees have shown us that, we have to keep committed to our practices. What is commitment? Basically means, we made a vow at one time, and at that time we had a particular mood, right? When we took that vow. So when that mood is not there, and still if we are steadfast in our commitment, that is commitment. We have made a vow, and we are steadfast in our practices, even when that mood in which we made that vow is not there. That is commitment. So like this, if we keep doing, then Krishna consciousness appears wonderful, and then the devotees are able to practice Krishna consciousness happily, having made peace with who they are. So let us chant Hare Krishna like this, and then we'll be able to deal with our dark side. Even when we know that we are fallen, we'll be happy, and we'll be able to please Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.